It's mid-2021, and the first COVID-19 vaccines have been developed. Within a few months, social distancing measures will be relaxed once everyone gets vaccinated. You may be thinking, great, it'll be back to normalcy and business as usual. But not so fast. The world will have changed in many ways even after the coronavirus pandemic has passed. Welcome Internet to the Futurist Tom. Before I start this video, I would like to introduce a fellow YouTuber, First Person Science Podcast. Interested in cutting-edge neuroscience research but annoyed by pesky paywalls blocking access to journal articles, First Person Science thoroughly explores neuroscience research articles featuring first-hand perspectives and narratives from the authors themselves. My personal favorite is how drugs and drug-linked cues strengthen memories and evoke drug-like responses, which I highly recommend you watch after this video. So, first and foremost, let's go back to the video and talk about the current state of COVID-19 vaccines. There are currently several vaccine candidates entering or about to enter human clinical trials. The leading contender of these vaccines is the one by Moderna Inc., which has begun Phase 1 human clinical trials this March and is aiming to begin Phase 2 trials within a few months. Although Moderna Inc. has not released a date for when it will begin its Phase 3 trials, experts believe that it will be 12 to 18 months before the vaccines finish their Phase 3 trials and are ready for deployment. So, assuming that our frontrunner Moderna makes it across the vaccine race without too many serious disruptions in their vaccine development, it will take another several months to half a year before the vaccines can be mass-produced and distributed across the globe. As such, our scenario will take place in 2022 and after, once everyone gets vaccinated. This scenario also assumes that people have taken social distancing serious enough and the curve has been flattened over the past 2 years before 2022. First, let's talk about COVID-19's effect on religion. Yes, it's a touchy topic, but one that will fundamentally be changed for generations to come after the COVID-19 outbreak. With public gatherings discouraged, people will be discouraged from going to religious gatherings for roughly 2 years. What this will mean is that many adults will become less active in their religious communities, although they may still keep their faiths. As for the kids, well, that's a completely different matter. Because they won't be taken to religious gatherings for 2 years, they will be raised in more secularized environments for those 2 years. And the result of that will be an entire generation that grew up even more secularly than their parents did and thus not believe in an organized religion. In the decades to come, once these kids have kids of their own, they will no longer be Christian or Muslim moms or dads. As such, the generation born after the COVID-19 outbreak will be far more atheist or agnostic than millennials or Gen Z will be. And no, I'll not talk about whether that is a good thing or a bad thing because I want to eventually monetize this channel. Next, let's talk about people's lifestyles. Various entertainment industries will have been hard hit during the 2 years of social distancing. Many movie theaters, theme parks, bars, and nightclubs will have been out of business because they would have been closed for so long during the 2 years of social distancing. And during those 2 years, people will have spent a lot of time playing video games and doing other indoor activities. And since 2 years is not a short amount of time, people will have gotten used to spending their time away from large gatherings and instead in their homes. Because much of nightlife and crowded events industries will have run out of business, I believe that the trend of stay-at-home entertainment will continue long after the COVID-19 outbreak ends. Next up is e-commerce. E-commerce will become even more prominent in people's lives than it has ever been in the past. Although most industries around the globe are seeing mass employee layoffs, e-commerce companies are faring pretty well in this crisis because people are ordering things from home instead of violating social distancing protocols by going out to buy items. Because e-commerce will become so familiar to people during the 2 years that they have to deal with social distancing, people will continue to buy items online and avoid physical shopping in the future. This will mean a huge decrease in brick and mortar stores' revenues, and many businesses will invest heavily in their e-commerce platforms by doing things such as increasing their warehouses' capacities. Now, I'd like to move on to my next topic, the future of automation. According to a survey done by the auditing firm Ernst & Young, 41% of companies are increasing their investment in automation to deal with the COVID-19 outbreak. Already a trend before the outbreak, automation will be useful for many companies because it will allow companies to cut costs. To give a brief example of this, more and more restaurants and retail stores will install kiosks for people to order their items from. These kiosks will only have to be sanitized by one employee several times a day. This is far cheaper than having to pay many clerks to take customers' orders. Thus, because it is cheaper to have an automated workforce, companies will keep their automated workforces even after the COVID-19 outbreak. Now, I'd like to talk about demographics. First and foremost, we will see a sad loss of many elderly people due to the coronavirus, as they are the most vulnerable group and because many nursing homes are being infected with the virus. On the other hand, we will also see a decrease in new births. Why? Because less couples will be forming during the next 2 years because singles will be meeting other people far less often due to the coronavirus outbreak. This will mean less marriages and thus less children. Although the consequences of these demographic changes is that there will be high economic damage during the coronavirus years due to medical expenses spent on the elderly, there will be less money spent on the elderly people's medical care in the decades to come. However, this is not a preferable situation because of the tragic loss of life during the pandemic. One thing that luckily won't change that much, however, is the state of manned space exploration. With Elon Musk's SpaceX still on schedule to launch manned missions to the International Space Station, humanity will still operate its manned space program as normal. The next topic I'd like to talk about is education. With the coronavirus outbreak causing schools and universities to either be closed or have their classes be moved online, students will be missing 2 years of on-campus schooling. While the effects of this may be limited for older high school and college students, kindergarten and elementary school students will miss out on crucial years of learning how to interact socially with their peers. This will lead to developmental delays in learning crucial social skills, and the various education departments of various nations may have to make a choice between delaying these children's entry into the schooling system or moving classes online. One noteworthy thing that I should mention in this video is that the situation of the coronavirus pandemic differs from country to country. This means that countries like South Korea, which does not have very strict social distancing protocols due to its good management of the coronavirus situation, will not face as many of the consequences outlined in this video as heavier hit countries such as the United States. The final topic I would like to talk about is the economy. As everyone knows, the world economy will face a great recession during the 2 years of COVID-19. With over 20 million Americans filing for unemployment as of the date of this recording, the US economy in particular does not look so good as of the moment. However, after social distancing is lifted, the economy will vastly improve. People will be employed again, and people will be spending money in outdoor activities that they would not have been able to do during the days of social distancing. As such, 2022 and the next several years onwards will be years of economic growth, perhaps lasting longer than the economic growth period from 2009 to 2020. Well, there we have it, folks. This is how I believe the world will change after the coronavirus outbreak. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. The code for this video is Elon.